And welcome to Channel 9 Live, directly from Orlando, Florida at TechEd. I'm Dan Fernandez, and my esteemed guest, Jason, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Jason Zander. I'm the Corporate Vice President for the Visual Studio team. So I run all the engineering teams for Visual Studio and all those products.
Awesome. And we are here, and the purpose of this, again, is to take your live questions. Jason just did some great Keynote demos, but send us your questions. That's hashtag CH9Live. We can get a nice shot of that. Hashtag CH9Live. Send us your question, and we will put Jason on the hot seat to answer them live.
All right. Looking forward to it.
So Jason, just to kind of get started, what are the things you showed off in your Keynote demo?
So there's several things that we showed off. Well, and tried to show off, so we run into some demo god problems, but that'll happen. One of the things we've got is Metro-style development for Windows 8, and so we've got a lot of new functionality in the RC that makes it easier, some design work and those sort of things. And we also have ARM tablet support now. We've got a bunch of new support that's going to come out for that. Makes it super easy. The cool thing is it's Visual Studio, so it's a debugger. You just use it like a debugger, and you don't really have to care about what's underneath. So that's one thing. We've also now today announced that we're doing HTML for LightSwitch. So all the LightSwitch developers, you can very easily target HTML standards. Go ahead and publish that, and you'll be able to target any browser that's out there. And then also today, Scott Guthrie, right before me, also talked about Team Foundation Service, our online service. And so today we've actually moved out of preview and into beta. That means everybody can go up to tfspreview.com and go get your account, and you don't have to worry about an invitation code anymore.
I love that. Now talk about LightSwitch, because a lot of people don't necessarily know what LightSwitch is. And for those following along, what is LightSwitch, who's it for, and what are the key scenarios for it?
So LightSwitch is the best way to build line of business applications. I mean, it's a rapid environment. I can basically add data, which can be anything from SQL. I can add OData feeds. I can add SharePoint. It logically comes in like a schema. In addition to that, we've got a bunch of screen builders. You basically have like a customer table, add a search details pane, and you just point it at the customer table, and we'll actually give you a nice design screen right off the bat. So I don't have to do a whole bunch of manual CSS or XAML or whatever system you're using. So it's really meant to create that application very quickly, and you'll often use it for internal applications.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, you can hook up to more advanced services that you might write with, like Visual Studio. Like I might go off and write some kind of a web service and connect it up an OData feed, so I can actually get at my mission critical data too. In fact, one of the things we showed today was OData support connecting to SAP NetWeaver Gateway, so I could actually mash up a screen with some SAP data as well. So.
It would a classic sort of enterprise scenario where you have back-end systems and you just want that back-end system as a service, and then be able to build a nice UI on the data.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. TFS. So for those people who are TFS customers, who's the target customer for the online stuff? When should they say, hey, we should move these services online, or both? Because we're still offering standalone TFS, and what's kind of the thinking there for people that are looking to evaluate the online service?
Yeah, the way you should think of this is, in the fullness of time, we will bring all of the functionality we have for the on-premise version of Team Foundation Server to the cloud. It will be there. But we're bringing up a service. So we're starting off with some of the basics as you get going, and we'll add more and more functionality. If you think about the evolution of SQL Server versus SQL Azure, it'd be a similar sort of thing. That's why moving into beta is a big milestone for us, because it means that we feel like the service is coming along. Mm-hmm. So right now, I would recommend it for smaller teams, that the teams of 5, or to 10, those sort of things, that really want the cloud access. In fact, we even use it ourselves as we're doing some of these demos and things. We actually are checking in all of our source code and sharing it together through the service. It's a great way to move things around. You've got source control, you've got work items, you've got Scrum, planning templates. We also have builds that can run in the cloud for you as well. So a lot of great functionality. And we continue to add more and more things. Last week, actually, we announced support for TFS in the new Azure platforms, that you can actually do continuous integration and continuous deployment as well.
So for people that aren't familiar with continuous integration, we're talking about like a dev team that is sending stuff up, and they have some automation of unit tests and those sort of things. Can you take maybe just one level deeper into what a common scenario is for their deployment process?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like one of the things we want to do is We want to get to as fast a time between I've got a cool feature, something I want to go build, and I want to get it in customers' hands. So you now have to start looking at what are all the things that are involved. So TFS and Visual Studio is set up to make that a very, very straightforward process and very powerful. So the continuous integration, I can go ahead and queue up a check-in. It's going to go get built. I can get all the architectural validation stuff done. I can run all the unit tests. I mean, all this just happens. Once I pass all of those things, then I can make sure that the actual changes get applied, and I now have a build that's ready to go. So CI helps me go do that. The continuous deployment piece, that's where I say, hey, if you do actually pass all of these suites, I've done such a great job with testing, I actually would like you to go ahead and invoke the deployment service and go ahead and deploy it. Right? And there's a lot of companies that have moved into this sort of mode for very, very rapid release, especially of services, because it allows you to get fixes through. And of course, you don't have to use that. Some people will want to say, get it done, but I want to do a little bit of extra, maybe deploy it into staging, and then at some point I'll do some additional testing, and then I'll move it over to production. You can certainly configure all those sorts of things. But the key thing is, if you look at every single step from I build it to a customer clicks on it, let's get automation in there. Let's let the software go do most of that work, and let's try and shrink the amount of time it takes in order to pull that off.
Yeah, and it's a good point, taking a step back in terms of all the things Visual Studio 2012 offers. There's things for, how do you look at a product that targets so many people? Because we have architecture, we have, you mentioned tests, and these can be manual testers, these can be people that are I'd say, software